Bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum bum bum.
I think often of what it means to be free. I think often of the difference between dedication and servitude, between labor and love. I think often of long lines outside of markets for a loaf of bread, of my mom squeezing tomatoes over white rice for dinner, of the rain that wreaks havoc with my curls, of the ones dreaming of a different past, of the places I escaped to on days I lay in bed without hope for tomorrow. July 1970, at least 296 people used Leeuwenbach's paste to terminate their pregnancies. 98% were in poverty. Sepsis, serious complications, and fatality were absent with this method. What does this say about us as a society? July 1997, a baby girl was born. She wrote this piece you're hearing today. She thinks it says we have succeeded. We have won in pouring medical debt into the hands of those who needed attention the most, who needed community care the most, who were born into systems that are working exactly as intended. 98% were in poverty. What would it look like to use our imagination, to rethink how those functions work, how this work functions? I think I've been a hospital for lost souls. I think I've given more than I've ever received, but that this movement has birthed into me work I cannot repay. I think that this movement deserves everything and then some, that this movement for freedom, for liberation, to run off with the keys to our restraints, to take back what was ours, our culture, our history, I think that it will be difficult. I think some of us will die. I think some of us will get lost along the way. I think that it will be lonely. I think some of us will hug ourselves for warmth, that some of us will avoid heartbreak like the floor is lava. But I think that it will be joyful. That radical joy is a phrase I hear a lot, but an idea I think is worth living for. That you or I have more power in our laughter alone than they ever could, and even more together. That they too might find their joy one day. I think women have been conditioned to say, I think, so I'll stop. I'll say, I know, I believe, I'm sure of. I'll say, I hope. I'll say, I hope that this country will one day be as free in practice as it is in principle. I'll say, I mean. I'll say, I mean that all men who are created equal do not look like you or me. They do not look like a queen bee coming into her womanhood. They do not look like a person who bleeds, who cannot afford their pads, who uses the dirty rags they use to mop up our blood, to mop up our own blood. They do not look like the union worker. Her wife's name is Jane. Her wife's job is Jane. They do not resemble us. They do not resemble us. At the medical school, they tell us we will heal. They tell us we will remedy. They tell us to call Jane pre-Roe v. Wade, pre-first grade. I wasn't yet born, but I know that things don't look so good now either. That regulation after regulation means my body isn't mine. You know, they teach us the difference between right mind and left mind, but they don't teach us how law differs from justice. How justice has rarely been delivered to our doorsteps. How Amazon promises 2-day shipping for everything but our unalienable rights dispatched to us by our founding mothers. You can't ask for them. Audre Lorde said it best, their tools won't ever dismantle their house. My political education on a steep curve, but my teacher still stops and asks, are you a child who thinks they're stupid when they don't know something? Or a child who looks it up? Imposter syndrome concocting a scenario where we do not shine bright, the preacher reminding us that we are not dull, the sermon reminding us that we do not have to sit muted. We are not any of those things the world has bestowed upon us. I am a fighter, a lover, and a hell of a cook. You can't prepare a meal when your pantry's empty, even though I promise I'll try. How can we do this work for others when we say we do not like others, when we fight so hard for them, when we put our life on the line for them? How do we create a home that is free? This isn't a riposte, it's an homage to all the people we have lost, all the people who were antagonists in their own novels, who were forced to give up their pens. This is for all those trapped, carrying a tattered book with rough edges in their backpacks, who spent their lives convincing others of its value. This is for all those who have failed and won, who have cried and laughed. For those who do not live in binaries, I'll shake you and say, do you not see how we shine ever brighter, how our strength is in our numbers? I'll say we do. We'll say we do anything in our power for you because ultimately this is a love song to you and all the others who both have and will shakingly and courageously stand their ground. We'll say we do anything in our power for you because we are only because you continue to be. We'll say we fight. We'll say we fight hard for you, love hard for you because that is where we are led. We'll say we dream. We'll say we dream that these footsteps will pave a more even road than the one we inherited from our mothers before us, with the hope that our children and grandchildren won't just walk towards a brighter and fairer future, but that they will one day run. Until the world stops requiring suffering from us to achieve and to love, we'll say we can and we will.